Hi, good evening, everybody, and thank you very much for joining me for another of the Paris Science Group. We are a group of people who find joy in studying science and understanding science. And our main concentration is on biological science, the science of the body or the science of the human being. And we will continue to talk about understanding love using science. And our topic today will be a continuation about what love is, with a concentration on what love is not. Common myth, common misbeliefs about love that has nothing to do with love. So let's get started with the presentation or the discussion. So we're going to talk about what love is, common myth about love, and it looks like we might have started a little bit late. No, that's okay. What love is not. Yeah. We're going to talk about what love is and what love is not. Common facts and myths about love. And my name is Fred Nour. I'm a neurologist. And we talked previously about what love is. The common truth about love. And we talk about it in summary. The biggest myth about love ever is the belief that love is one event that will last for a lifetime. In reality, the fact is love is not one event that lasts for a lifetime. Love comes in phases, and only the last phase of love that lasts for a lifetime. So what are the phases of love? An overview of that. First phase is mate selection. I never ever met anyone or heard of anyone who's in love and ask him, who are you in love with? You say, well, I haven't selected someone yet. I'm just in love, but later on, I'll decide whom I'm going to love. Simply impossible. Your first step is selecting someone to love, the so-called mate selection. And we do it by two parts of the brain. One called the unconscious brain, the automatic brain. The public call it chemistry, instinct, nature. The part of you see someone and it tells you, yes, he or she is the one, or no, they're not. Automatic, quick decision. The second one is the conscious thinking brain. And that's the part we use to think about the other person, their assets, their liabilities, the previous history. Should I go with them? Should I not? And when the two parts of the brain select the person and the selection is finalized, we immediately move to phase 2 of love. It has two names, romance or falling in love. Two are the same. Unfortunately, we all are made to believe that this is love and that's it. All the movies or the films, the romance novels, the cartoons, the songs, everything you see or you hear about love talks about romance or falling in love as if this is love and that's it. In reality, it's only a part of it. But because it associated with some excitement, we tend to focus on it and concentrate on it. But it's only a phase that lasts about 2 years, maybe 3 years, and it has to end. And it always ends in the so-called falling out of love. Falling out love is part of love. It has a function, it has a purpose. We'll touch on that briefly. But gradually after that, we move to the final and permanent phase of love that lasts for a lifetime, and that is true love. So we talked about them previously, and they were all recorded and put in YouTube. So if you have seen it, you know what I talked about before. If you haven't, you can go to YouTube, search for it by my name, Dr. Fred Nour. You're going to find a bunch of videos and select part 1, mate selection by the unconscious brain. Just 1 hour and 7 minutes, and you'll understand the details of what love is, a mate selection by a conscious brain. Next one was part 2, mate selection by the conscious brain. the conscious thinking brain. I'm talking to you now using my conscious thinking brain. You're listening to me now using your conscious brain. And this part is also involved in selecting a mate, and we spend about an hour talking about that. Then next, part 3, we spend about an hour also talk about romance, what happened in romance, how romance happens, what chemicals are involved, what are the manifestations, and all of that. And we explain what romance is. And next one was phase 4, falling out of love. The common myth or misbelief that the love has failed, love has ended. It has not. And we talk about understanding falling out of love. And the final and permanent phase was phase 4 or part 5, true love, as explained by science. We talk exactly what is true love and how is true love is different from romance. Because it's a common myth that we think that romance and true love are the same, I decided just to dig a little bit deeper on that a little bit. Also, after that, we did part 6, talked about genes and love, how our genes are responsible for a good part of our ability to love and how much we love, as well as in a different sense, whom we love. So we talked about a summary or selection of some of the genes that had influence on love. Today we'll talk about what love is not, common myth about love. And the misconception about love falls in 2 different groups. Group that have the manifestation in people's psychopathology. These are psychopaths, and they use love as an excuse to abuse another human being. So this misconception are part of psychopathology. The other group are misconception among normal, healthy individuals that have just misbeliefs about love that we have to sort of talk about or discuss and explain. So let's start with the first group because it's the more important one for you to know about, and that is love as an excuse in people with psychopathology. And there are 2 types of these people. Those that want to control another human being with love as an excuse for that. And the other one are those who suffer from codependency, that they justify the codependency, the desire to keep another person sick and unwell so they can take care of them, so they can explain to everybody how wonderful they are, so they can feel good about themselves. And this is definitely a psychopathology. So we'll dig into that a little bit deeper. Now talk about psychopathology. Let's talk about controlling another person, another human being, using love as an excuse or as a reason to justify the psychopathology, the malbehavior. And I'm going to give you some examples of the control strategies. And then we'll look at example for each one of them. One, you tell the other person, prove to me that you love me by doing this and that. That's one method of control. Or because I love you so much, I'm going to do this and that to you. Or number 3, if you love me, you're going to do this for me. If you love me, you should do it. And another one is passive aggressive behavior. You want to injure somebody, but not by violence, but sort of being passive and controlling them by your passivity. So let's look at some examples. Prove to me that you love me. As we are in Paris, or most of us are in Paris, there are people outside Paris, and in Paris the most popular opera is the famous opera Carmen. Everybody knows it, everybody has seen it, everybody knows about it. So I decided to select that story to use as an example for psychopathology. In my mind, Carmen had psychopathology. And she fell in love with Don Jose, and Don Jose fell in love with her. He was a soldier in the army. She admired how he looks with the uniform and the colors of the uniform and so on. But once he falls in love with her and he is with her, they ring the bell or the horn for him to go back to the barracks of the army. I tell him, no, you don't go, you stay with me. If he doesn't go back to the barracks, he's fired from the army. No, you stay with me and have some friends. We're going to run through the hills, cross the border to smuggle things to make money. In other words, forget about being a soldier, be a thief like me. Destroy yourself, destroy your career, and do it to prove to me that you love me. If you go and destroy yourself, destroy your career, destroy your dreams, that proves to me that love me. But if this is love, was love a reason for someone to destroy another human being? Or is destroying yourself evidence that you love someone? It is not. Love is a normal feeling among normal individuals. These people are sick, and they just use love because she wants to completely and totally control him. She decides for him what he should do, and he will do it. And that's what he did. And at the end, we know from the story of Carmen, she fell out of love, she dumped him, and fell in love with somebody else. So that's have to be careful with people who tell you, do this and that to prove to me that you love me. You don't have to prove your love to anybody. That's not a healthy approach. The other one is because I love you so much, I do this. And this is a story was told to me by a man. A man meets a woman, they get engaged, then they get married. They spend few days together, then go for the honeymoon for 2 weeks. During the few days before they go on the honeymoon, they go to the bank and open a joint bank account. Each one of them can sign the account, can put money, withdraws money. And he put few $1,000s in the account. Then they went on the honeymoon. Then they came back after 1 week. And he started to go back to work, and he goes down to get some cash from the ATM machine in the bank, and it wouldn't give him any money. Why? That the balance is zero. That's impossible. He goes to the bank and discovers that yes, all the money had been withdrawn by his wife the day before. Very strange. He decided to call his wife to ask her what's going on. He discovered that his phone is disconnected. He has no dial tone. He cannot dial from his cell phone. Very strange. He waited. He went home. I told him that she went to the bank and opened a separate bank account where she's the only one that can sign on the bank account. And she transferred all his money to her bank account. Why that? Because from now on, I will handle all the money for you. All the expenses will be decided by me. What about the phone? Oh, I cancel your phone number, but don't worry. I have a new SIM card with a new phone number. And now you can use it to call me anytime you want. Because I don't want you to call any friends or family, anybody else. I want you to lose contact with everybody you ever have known before. My dad, why do you do that? Oh, because I love you so much. I love you so intensely and dearly. I want to keep you just for myself. I don't want to share you with anybody else. So that's it. You are my slave, you're limited to me, and that's it. And if you don't accept that, then that's evidence that you don't love me. And at the end of the marriage, we'll have a divorce. If this is love, controlling somebody completely and totally, or this is psycho-pathology, somebody who's sick who wants to control another one to the degree of human abuse. This is not love. Love is a normal behavior among normal people. This is not normal behavior among normal people. This is control of another one with the excuse of love as a reason why I should abuse you. Another one, if you love me, you're going to do it for me. If you love me, you're going to do this for me. And this is a story from here in Paris, happened last year. A man goes to a meeting at Internation close to Opera of Paris, Opera Garnier. And over there, he meets another woman. She's nice, he likes her, she likes him. They exchange phone numbers. Next week, he called her, they go out for coffee, things are going well, he's happy. Then they go out for dinner. Then he go out another time. Ending the time, she tell him that she had a boyfriend before for the last 3 years, but things are not going very well. The boyfriend is still not sure about marrying her, and she's getting tired of it. Okay, that happens. Then the next internation meeting, she tell him that the meeting starts at 6 o'clock. I want you to be there at 6 o'clock sharp because I'm going to be there, so we can have time to spend together. Why so early? Oh, because my old boyfriend is coming to pick me up from there. We're going to go out dancing. So I want to have enough time to spend with you until he comes. He's going to come at 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock. Then we're going to go to a disco to go dancing. What? You still see the old boyfriend? Oh, yes. I've been with him for 3 years. I only have been with you for a month or two. So I decided to give the old boyfriend another chance for another year. So I'm going to see him and see her at the same time for a year. If at the end of the year he decides he wants to marry me, then I've been with him 4 years, so I have to marry him. If he decides he doesn't want to commit to marriage, you had a year to know me, so if you decide you want to marry me, I will dump the old boyfriend, I will marry you. And the amazing thing, he came to ask me, what do you think? Should I do that or not? I was shocked, my God, are you crazy? She's abusing you. Oh, I'm just tired of the old boyfriend, but if you love me, if you care about me, you're going to accept that situation. You're going to continue to see me, and I will continue to see the old boyfriend. Then at the end of the year, if you're lucky and the old boyfriend doesn't commit, then I will be with you. Maybe you get married, maybe you wait for a few months. But this is love. This is abuse. This is using another human being for your needs, using another man to be a reserve tire for you. This is not love. It has nothing to do with love. Or if you love me, you do it. Garbage. Love is not a reason for you to be abused by another human being. And love is not a reason for you to abuse another human being either. Unless one is a situation that, as a neurologist, I see a lot. The passive-aggressive behavior. A 36-year-old woman goes to the emergency room with her husband. And they tell the emergency room she has been paralyzed from the waist down for 10 days. Go to the emergency room, physician shocked. 10 days, you're just coming now? Why did you stay for 10 days at home? Well, the husband normally works in sales of some electronic components, so he travels all over the country to meet some client to sell them that. So he travels a lot and stays home for the weekend, and most of the week he's traveling. Now that she's sick and paralyzed, he has to stay home, cancel all his sales trips, so he can carry her from the bed to the kitchen so she can eat, and back to the bed, and carry from the bed to the sofa so she can watch television. And he wants to take her to the emergency room, but no, just a little bit of rest for a few days. I am sure it's going to be better. So he waited, and after 10 days decided, that's it, I had it, we're going to go to the hospital. So he carries her to the emergency room. They call me because she's paralyzed. I'm a neurologist. I see her, they tell testing, reveals no physical cause for that. This is psychological. And unfortunately, it's not rare in neurology to see that. Those of you from Paris who know about Dr. Charcot, he's the founder of neurology worldwide. He was here in Paris. One of the things that fascinated him that he couldn't figure out is a variant of that, where people have psychological epilepsy of seizures. It's not organic. Couldn't figure out why on earth they do it. It's a way of passive, aggressive manipulation of another human being. And these people typically reject emphatically any suggestion by the doctor that this is psychiatric or psychological, or even there might be a small element of that. You actually get violent, sometimes, and angry. I was once almost attacked by a spouse of a patient like that. So we learned the best trick is just justify for them getting better by sending them physical therapy, giving them vitamin C, massage to the earlobe, whatever it is. That's going to make you better, and they magically get better. And as I said, a common fact, this patient always emphatically refuse psych consultation. It's a psychopathology between the patient and usually the husband as well. And if you try to tell either one of them this is psychological, they fire the doctor, they fight with the husband, and they leave. Anyhow, that woman, after 2 or 3 days of physical therapy, magically got better, 100%, went home. Husband goes to work, continues his life. 6 weeks later, she comes back with the same symptom. Same thing is repeated, physical therapy. She gets better and goes home. She comes for a third time, and this time there was something a little bit different. I was working late, I was hungry, didn't finish my round. So I went to cafeteria to eat and then finish my rounds. While I'm sitting, her husband came and asked if he can sit with me on the same table. Sure. And he asked me, is she doing it for my attention and affection? I was surprised because most husbands usually totally suck to her game or his game if it's the other way around, and totally believe them and fight with anybody who suggests otherwise. But this guy appeared to be smart. I said, yes, it's done for your attention, affection. And he left, and she never came back to the hospital. Well, nothing unusual. But 4 years later, he comes to my office for a test, nerve conduction study, test for the nerves in the hand for carpal tunnel syndrome. I thought he looks familiar. I thought a little bit, oh yes, I know. This is the husband of the woman that used to come with the paralysis. She has been coming for 4 years. So then what happened? What happened to your wife? She's fine. She's been fine for 4 years. I cured my wife when you, doctor, failed. Totally shocked, taken back. What? With all this training and went to the best medical school in America and a big medical center, I couldn't cure the woman in can. How did you do it when I couldn't? I thought I can learn something for the next patient. I said, well, Dr. Nour, let me tell you a little bit about our story. I went to high school with my wife, and there was another girl called Jennifer. Jennifer was a very attractive girl. Everybody in the class liked Jennifer. I liked Jennifer. I chased Jennifer for a couple of years. But Jennifer liked football players. They are very famous in the class, have a lot of attention, and some of them can become rich, and so on. So Jennifer wasn't interested in me, and Jennifer was interested in the football player. I started to date my wife. Then I went to college and found she's in the same college. So we dated in college. At the end of college, we got married, and we stayed together. In the last admission, a mutual friend came to visit and told her that Jennifer got divorced from the football player. I said, that was just after I talked to you. Then a great idea stuck to my mind. If she's playing the game for my attention and affection, I will change the rules of the game and make, instead of winning my affection, losing my affection. What do you mean by that? I told her, you know what? I am tired of your illnesses. It's impairing my career and my job. And Jennifer is now available. Next time you get sick, I'm going to take you to the hospital. And I went from the hospital to the divorce lawyer. I file a divorce for you, and I'll marry Jennifer. She got upset and cried, how dare you do that to me? But what amazed me, she never ever got sick again. Luckily, she had a husband who was smart enough to figure out the psycho-pathology and manipulate it to his advantage, and she never had that. That's why I say it's a very memorable case to me. The only time I've ever seen probably 200 or 300 cases like that, but nobody. But if this is love, this passive aggressive control of somebody else, impairing his career, impairing his life, wasting his money just to get an attention and affection, or this is psychopathology. This is psychopathology. This is not normal behavior. It's not love. It has nothing to do with love. She doesn't do it to him because she loves him. He doesn't do it for her because he loves her. She is sick, manipulative, using passive aggression to control him. And luckily, he did it. Another thing is codependency, justified as love. And let's look at, this is the definition from Wikipedia. Codependency is a behavioral condition in a relationship with one person enables another person's addiction, poor mental health, immaturity, irresponsibility, underachieving. Somebody is sick, not doing well, and instead of you going to help them, you encourage them to be this way, but you take care of them. And you do that so you can go and tell everybody how wonderful you are to suffer and sacrifice yourself for that person, and I do it because I love them so much. So a core characteristic of codependency is excessive reliance on other people for approval and sense of identity. To be good, people have to think, I'm so wonderful, I'm so great. I have to keep telling them all the sacrifices I made for other people. So let's look at a case. A 45-year-old man is married to a 50-year-old woman. She stays in bed all the time because she has weakness. She doesn't work because she has weakness. She doesn't do any housework because she has weakness. And eventually she comes to see me, and there's no physical cause for the weakness. It is psychological. And the man works, come back from work, he cooks for her, he cleans the house, does all of that. And the important part is what? He tells everybody in very fine details how much he has to sacrifice for her and how difficult it is. I have to work for 10 hours, come back so tired and exhausted, but I went in and I cleaned and did this and that. And I'm so wonderful. And he feels good. People, wow, you do it. Yeah, because I love her so much. He doesn't love her. He loves himself. He loves the joy of people telling, oh, you're so good, you're so wonderful. And if anybody try to suggest psychiatric factor, he gets very angry and violent. He had hit the doctor, fight, kick the nurse out. Want the nurse immediately change because she suggested it might be psychological, which to us neurologists is evidence that it is a psychological disorder. If you go to somebody with a real paralysis and tell him, we might have a psychiatrist talk to you and you can move your arm again. If it's they'll say, yes, wow, that would be great. Somebody talk to me, I'll move my arm, that's what I'll do it. If it's psychological, I see a cardiologist, lung specialist, except neurologist, except psychiatrist. No way, I don't. Somehow deep in their mind, they know that it's a psychiatrist. And anybody try to give her any medicine, you always find a reason why she shouldn't take this medication. Oh, there's a man in China 50 years ago took the medicine and had hiccups for 2 weeks. And because of that, I'm not going to allow her to do that. I love her so much, I'm going to protect her from that. And while talking, he mentioned that the doctor did try to do the same for my wife with this antipsychotic medication, and that got much worse. And now she is in a mental health hospital. So dig a little bit more into that. And his previous wife was schizophrenic, hallucinating and doing all of that. And he was taking care of her, enjoying telling everybody about all the terrible things she did, all his suffering and misery with her. And now he continues to do it for her because he's such a wonderful human being. And it's because he loves her so much. That's why he do it. It eventually got so bad that she tried to kill a neighbor, was taken to the hospital, and the judge felt this woman is a danger. She wouldn't take any medicine. Her husband doesn't allow anybody to give her medicine. The only solution is to put her in a long-term psychiatric care. And after that, he divorced her and find another miserable human being that he can take care of so he can feel good about himself by telling everybody else. Say, I do it because I love her. Garbage, he doesn't. He loves himself. He loves the attention, affection that he gets when you tell people how miserable he is, and they tell, oh, you're such a wonderful human being, you're such a great man, and he, oh, this is so good, I feel good. This is addiction. It's psycho-pathology. It's called codependency. If you meet someone like this, run away. You can never succeed in love with somebody with psychopathology. This is not love. Okay, let's switch gears a little bit and talk about myth among normal people. Many things that we believe in about love that has nothing to do with love. Biggest problem is believing that romantic love is true love. And as it is the most common one, I'll try to do a comparison between the two for you. I did it before, but I'll repeat it here. And I'll use an analogy, an example to compare. An analogy doesn't mean that the two things are the same. There's only one element of it the same. So we're going to use the pregnancy as an analogy for romance and having a baby as an analogy for true love. That does not mean that you have to get pregnant to have romance, that you have a baby to have true love. You don't have to. Men and women, man cannot get pregnant, they will have romance. Man can have true love. cannot have babies. So this is just an example from certain aspects only, not everything fits. So for the comparison, in romance, like the pregnancy, starts early, acutely, and quickly. You won't get pregnant like that. And it's effortless. The 9 month doesn't take a lot of work for the mother. There's some suffering, but she doesn't have to do much. The baby grows automatically. The same happened with romance. In true love, it happened insidiously and slowly. You keep taking care of the child, love him more and more over years and years and years, and effortful. That mother will do a lot of effort to take care of that baby, a lot more effort and energy than what a pregnant woman will just do. So true love is effortful, romance is effortless. Romance must end one day. That's why it's pregnancy. It has to end after 9 months. No matter what, it has to end, always ends. True love, like having that baby, doesn't end. It lasts for a lifetime of the mother. She continues to love the baby until she dies. This peaks at the onset. True love at onset, very intense, and gradually fades away. That's romance. True love starts gradually and build up, like the love of the mother to the baby. The older he gets, the more she loves him. Romance is based on a group of chemicals in the brain called monoamine. We'll show you a sample of them later on. True love is based on a different set of chemicals called nonapeptides. So physically in the brain, it's two different things. Romance is associated with sense of euphoria. Look at his face and face. This is euphoria. True love, content, satisfied. Not the euphoria, not that you had morphine, but you're happy. You're content. So this euphoria caused a lot of stories and books and romance novel and so on, but it's romance, it's not true love. Romance is like a pregnancy, a step toward a goal. The goal of the pregnancy is not just to be pregnant forever and let it last for a lifetime. It's just to prepare the baby to be delivered and becomes this. So romance is a phase toward a goal. This is the goal itself. Romance is associated with jealousy. The chemical responsible for that, the monoamine, are known to cause jealousy. True love is associated with trust. You don't feel jealous of your mate because you trust them. And the chemical responsible for that, we talked about that in details. Go back to YouTube if you haven't seen it. Romance is associated with an illusion. Your mate is perfect, she's beautiful, she's great, but this is temporary. Later on, when you fall out of love, oh my God, he has such a big nose. Oh my God, look at his ear. Oh my God, look at his stomach. You start to see reality later on. But at the time, you have the illusion. True love is associated with an illusion. Your wife, no matter what, is the most beautiful woman around. Your man is the most sexy man around. They are perfect, and that's permanent. It doesn't go away. As they become old, they continue to believe the same. Romance is associated with delusion. My mate is as I imagined them. True love associated with reality. I know he's not perfect. I know he doesn't put the lid of the toilet down, but it doesn't bother me. It's no big deal. I forget about it. I either don't see it, or if I see it, it doesn't bother me, and I forget it. So it's different reality, but reality is accepted. Romance is enjoyable, so I recommend that you live with it, enjoy it while it lasts. But at the back of your mind, know that it is going to end one day. True love should be your purpose, your goal, and you should wait until you reach that phase. And when you do, you'll be happy for a lifetime. You'll be grateful that you waited. So this is romance, euphoria. This is true love. 82 years old and like 80 years old lady, southern France, nice warm day like today. She want to go to the beach. He take her to the beach, hold her hand. You take in to get there. They are content. He doesn't have the same euphoric look in her face, but they're happy. And this is true love that we hope to achieve one day. And when we do, it will last us for a lifetime. Chemicals involved, just to go over, romance have so-called monoamines, two families, serotonin and so-called catecholamines, which are Three chemicals: epinephrine, called in England and in France adrenaline, norepinephrine, noradrenaline, and dopamine. So dopamine is just one of the different chemicals responsible for romance. True love has a different called nonapeptide, meaning 9 chemicals attached together. The two chemicals, oxytocin and vasopressin. For some reason, we know why oxytocin is more popular. Talk to people, oh yeah, I know about oxytocin, oxytocin. Oxytocin is as important as vasopressin. The reason oxytocin is more famous because most experiments are done by oxytocin, because to get it to the brain, you have to give it in the blood. And in the blood, oxytocin and vasopressin are not equal. Oxytocin is safe, vasopressin is not. And if this is the brain, so to get it to the brain, it's safer to use oxytocin than vasopressin. But it does not mean that vasopressin is less important than oxytocin, that oxytocin is more important than vasopressin, that there's any difference between them. In the brain, they are the same. In the blood, they are not. But their effect for love is in the brain. The effect on the blood has nothing to do with it. Other misconception is that falling out of love is the end of love. And a lot of stories have ended sadly because people discovered they fell out of love and thought that's it, love failed, is the end. This is not always true. It is just a phase. And the purpose of romance is to prepare the brain for true love. We talked about that, how chemically it happens in the brain. So the reason we fall out of love is simply because the goal is achieved. The reason the woman goes in labor after 9 months is because the goal of the pregnancy, which is to make the baby from being a microscopic structure to be big enough for the woman, mother, to hold in her hand, has been achieved. So it has to end and we move to the next phase. The same in love. The goal of love is to multiply the nonapeptide cells and receptors. When they reach the maximum number, they cannot increase anymore. It has to end and we move to the next phase. So there's a reason for it and the benefits. When you have falling out of love, you lose the illusions, the delusion that you had in the romance, and you start to see your mate for what he is. You start to see reality. You start to evaluate and re-evaluate your mate to decide, did I make the right decision or not? If you made the right decision, you stay in the relationship and give it time, and you're going to go into true love. If you feel you made a big mistake and now you can see it for the first time, then it's time to change, go back, look for another mate, and fall in love again. But unless you fall out of love, you cannot fall in love again, and we talked about that before. Benefit of falling out of love is objective evaluation of your mate choice. Did I make the right decision or not? And the ability to choose a new mate if, and it's in yellow, if your first choice was wrong. If it's good, stay as you are. When does it usually happen? Usually happen about 2 years to 3 years. If you look at the statistic, this is the time of marriage, 0. Divorces peak about 2nd year and 3rd year. Then gradually goes down after that. So the divorce usually happens between the 2nd and 3rd year. Okay, let's keep moving and let's talk about another myth is love is just like the fairy tales. And I'll tell you a story of a woman I call Cinderella. She's attractive and she believes she's like Cinderella. She's going to go to a party somewhere looking gorgeous and beautiful. And the prince will come and see her, fall in love with her. That's it. She's a queen. She doesn't have to do anything. So she's looking for a man who will love her and give her everything. She doesn't want to cook. She doesn't want to clean the house. She doesn't want to work. She just stay at home, take care of her beauty, and he come and enjoy that, and that's it. She couldn't find anybody, but she blamed the people. Men are terrible nowadays. They just greedy. They want a woman who wants to work and help you out, and want a maid that will clean the house or a cook that will, no, I wouldn't do that. They want somebody to have children, so they be busy with that. I don't want to have children, no. I just want someone to come and fall in love with me and give me everything. I don't have to give him back anything. This is a myth. She thinks it's Cinderella, that the story of Cinderella is real, and that's going to happen to her. It will never happen. She's sad she just turned 40 and still wouldn't accept that it will never happen. She has to change. Another myth is some people believe that love is a constant sense of ecstasy. Be so happy, euphoric, they'll be 24/7, 365 for years and years and years until I die. It's impossible. The brain has the so-called accommodation, get used to whatever happens to it. Go and live by the mountain, oh so beautiful and gorgeous. 2 or 3 years later, just boring little thing that never move or change and it's depressing, I hate it. You live by the ocean, so beautiful at night, the fresh air. Few years later, it's nothing. Oh, the same thing every day, I'm sick and tired of it. Everything in the brain eventually reverts back to baseline to normal. So you will never have that sense of ecstasy all the time. You have a baseline, sometimes being happier, sometimes being a little less unhappy. You always go back to the baseline. I wish people know and accept that. People know it, but they don't accept it. Next, some people claim that love is an addiction. Usually, these people are not medical doctors. They are what I call pseudoscientists. They are those that know a little bit and think they know it all. We have known throughout history they are the most dangerous member of the society. You can publish in some journals called Frontier in Psychology, intense, passionate, romantic love, and natural addiction, question mark, how the field that navigates romance and substance abuse can inform each other. And if you look, one is Cancer Institute, that's a sex research institute. Now, sexologists, people in sex, are studying love and passion. And that's one put like Department of Neurology. If you go and search, she's not a neurologist. But they're very good in implying to you, and most people don't have time to check what the truth. So the myth, they claim that romance is an addiction because it's based on dopamine. And they tell that dopamine is an addictive substance. I'll counter that and say there are millions and millions of people that took L-Dopa, which get converted to dopamine in the brain for Parkinson's disease. If dopamine is addictive, they should be addicted to it. Like cocaine is addictive, almost everybody who takes it become addicted to it. Morphine is addictive, everybody take it become addicted to it. But why people take that and nobody ever got addicted to it? How could dopamine be addictive and millions of people take it and don't get addicted to it? And the opposite. If you take morphine and we give you a morphine blocker, like Americans call Narcan, you can go through a massive withdrawal, so we even die because of that. The drug withdrawal syndrome. If dopamine is addictive, then we give dopamine blocker, block it in the brain, you should go get a withdrawal. But not a single person ever worldwide in the history of the human race had a withdrawal syndrome from that. Why that? Because dopamine is not an addictive substance. These people are not medical doctors. They are those self-taught, street-smart people who just do pseudoscience to make money. So just be careful not to take them seriously or listen to them. Love is not an addiction. Love is a normal human behavior. Some people claim they discover a love center of the brain and they name it the VTA, ventral tegmental area. And there's a speech center in the brain, there in the left midfrontal area. If you damage it, everybody loses speech. You know, we had a stroke and couldn't talk because you damaged the speech center. So yes, there's a speech center. If you stimulate it, people talk and hallucinate and say things. So yes. So let's look at the ventral tegmental area. Is it the same? If you damage it with a stroke, a tumor, something, people continue to love their family. Everybody is exactly the same. Love doesn't disappear, it doesn't change. How could it be a love center? If you damage it and love is still the same. And what about if you stimulate it? Should make love more intense or different or something? It doesn't do a thing. Just say, I'm hungry, I want to eat, and that's it. It is related to appetite, yes. To love, no. This is a pseudoscientist taking advantage of your lack of knowledge of the brain and bullshitting you, and sadly, most people will fall for it. Next myth is that I found the brain chemical responsible for love, and it's dopamine. As I told you before, we know of at least 4 chemicals, if not more. Dopamine alone cannot. explain all the manifestation of romance. This is just pseudoscience. And it's more than 4, say here 4, but dopamine is not. Let me stop at that. And time we start on some questions. And let me see how we can, maybe we can stop the share. This is the book that I published about that, just out of duty for my daughters. All right, let me stop the recording here.